On the list of most anticipated vehicles, the Volkswagen ID.Buzz is damn near the top, and it's been that way for a couple years now, unfortunately, but it's finally here, and I've had to come to the hills of LA to see what it's really all about, and I'm happy to report there's a lot of good, but not everything is great. So when you're in an ID.Buzz, you should probably come to MOH Holland, because I can picture this being the stomping grounds of these back in the day outside of the Bay Area. But here in LA, here in Southern California, there has always been tons of Type 2 microbuses. It's really cool to see the Volkswagen bus come back in the form of the modern ID.Buzz. I think they nailed the design of this. This thing is fun on the outside. It plays the part well. It looks cool. It looks fun. The wheels are 20 inches on this first edition model, meant to mimic the hubcaps of the original, and they kind of nailed it. The colors that are available are great. This green looks fantastic. Style-wise, it's a bit of a hit. It is significantly bigger than the old bus. The wheelbase is like 3 feet longer. The length is over 2 feet longer. It's 10 inches wider. And oddly, it's just like 0.2 of an inch shorter, which is kind of interesting. The one stat though, where it's really gonna blow your mind, which you probably already guessed this one, is the weight difference between this and original Type 2. 3,500 pounds. That's crazy. It's no surprise that this is a heavy vehicle. It's a battery electric. They're heavy. This is a 3-row minivan slash almost SUV of a thing. So, you know, it competes with things like the Kia EV9, a lot of people are comparing it to, which is interesting. Though I think you could still compare it to other minivans, and it is cooler than all the other minivans on the market. Though the Kia Carnival, I like to call it the Carnival, is trying very hard not to be a minivan. On the inside, it's also pretty cool in here. We got this roof, it's electrochromic or whatever their technology is called. You can make it opaque or transparent, so that you're not baking yourself in the sun. 3 rows of seating here. This one has room for 7, even though this is a first edition, but because it is the rear wheel drive. They have the way they're packaging these is kind of goofy, but this is a rear wheel drive, so it gets a bench seat, 2nd row. The all-wheel drives come with captain's chairs. You can option this with captain's chairs, but I believe on the all-wheel drive, you cannot get the bench, which makes no sense. Hold up, fire truck. It's funny, they're responding to a call, and I saw one guy point to the bus. This thing catches attention everywhere out here. It's crazy, and it should. It does look cool and fun, and that's kind of what it's all about. On the inside, going back to the interior, the driving position is nice. You got an expansive window in front of you. You're not driving it over the front wheels like you would in an original one, but you get a great greenhouse here. You can really see the road, and I really appreciate that. Where it falls apart on the inside is all of the infotainment. You've heard other people say this. It's no surprise to hear me say this. I think if you want a great in-depth review of why this is a bit of a failure on the inside, go watch Jason Fenske, Engineering Explains video. He does a great job of breaking down all the pluses and minuses, and I agree with pretty much everything he says after spending a week with this vehicle. All of this touch bullshit that Volkswagen is doing, they know it needs to go away. They're going to make it go away. No one asked for this. It is a terrible solution to something that wasn't a problem. Just give us knobs and buttons. It's haptic feedback. It's not good. It is just not good. It's a pain. You have to take your eyes off the road to use it. Yes, there are versions of the buttons here on the steering wheel, but even those, sometimes when I'm trying to change a track, it thinks I want to like skip forward a few seconds in the song. Who the hell wants to do that? The answer is no one. I just want to skip songs, or I want to turn it up and down. You can slide with your thumbs. It's dog shit, and I'm sorry to be harsh about it, because I really do like almost everything else about the vehicle. So this is a rear wheel drive. It's making about 282 horsepower, 413 pound-feet of torque, rear wheel drive, which is fun. I haven't tried to do a burnout yet, but I really should, or drift it, which would be just hilarious. But driving wise, it drives great. The steering feel is good. You know, for this van, it's not a sports car, but it's very comfortable. The weight, whatever they've dialed in the weight, matches the vehicle nice. The turning radius is exceptional. That is a moment where it does feel like you're over the front wheels like the old van. The turning radius is incredible for a vehicle of this size. The one negative of the driving experience is the brake feel. You have to, especially when you're braking from speed, you have to push through the regen to get into more of the mechanical feel of the braking, and it's just this weird gray area, squishy no man's zone. But if you push through it, the brakes are there, it stops the vehicle fine. I think it actually has like 15-inch front rotors, like huge front brakes, because these things are heavy. But it's just a weird squishiness until you get to the mechanical. So on the highway, no, just keep pushing the pedal and you'll get there. But otherwise, the driving dynamics are wonderful. I like sitting up high. It has an SUV-esque feeling, or a van, I guess I should say, feeling. More so than other minivans, though. It feels like we're sitting higher up than you would be in a Pacifica or an Odyssey or Sienna, or the Carnival. So it drives great, and it looks good inside and out. I said there are other areas I don't like besides the infotainment. But I will say the sound system, the Harman Kardon, this one has the Harman Kardon. The sound system's pretty killer. 14 speakers, you really hear the music separated around you. They did a really good job there. The range sucks for a vehicle in 2024, 2025. This is the rear wheel drive, so it's rated at 234 miles of driving range. The all-wheel drive is rated at 231, like 3 mile per hour, 3 mile difference is kind of hilarious. I would be okay with that because I've driven electric vehicles cross country. I mean, I'm okay with an EV experience. I have a charger at home. I would never recommend this to someone who doesn't have a charger at home. Most EVs, honestly, that's the case. But that's in the eyes of the consumer. I don't feel like that's an acceptable amount. That you want to see a 3, but even if this was 275 mentally, that would be a better number than 234, and you're not going to hit 234. I'm averaging between 2 and 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour, and sorry, an Ineos Grenadier just caught my eye. And if there's no one in front of you on the highway, you're 2.3, 2.4. When you're drafting a bit, you can get 2.5, or when you're in traffic, obviously you're doing 2.5. I haven't gotten over 2.5, but I haven't driven a lot of hills.
I have to step in here for a second because during the rest of my time with the ID.Buzz, I saw more highway, and I also just relaxed around town. On the drive home from that shoot, I saw the number creep up to 2.7, even 2.8, and then the rest of my time, it stayed there, and you could even almost touch 3 with it. So if you drive this thing efficiently, it will reward you.
You should go drive Lombard Street in San Francisco to get the full experience. But it's not efficient enough. It's a 400 volt system, I believe, so the charging speeds aren't going to knock your socks off either. It maxes out at 200 kilowatts, which a few years ago was great, but you need to be maxing out closer to those 350. You keep your doors open. That's cool. No one needs to get by. Gorgeous house. You're at 200 kilowatts max, and that's, if everything is working perfectly, like the ambient temperature and the EA thing hasn't shit the bed on you, and all those fun things we get to deal with when you're on the road in an electric vehicle. That brings me to the other bit that I don't like. It's the price. These start at 61, and I feel like they should be ending at 61 to 65. I understand EVs are expensive. This is something you buy with your heart, not your brain, and I think it will appeal to a lot of people who have the cash to pay for something like this. This one has tested at 67, and they will go up to 72. Maybe just a little bit over that even. So it's far from cheap. It's the opposite of cheap. It is pretty expensive for what should be more range and faster charging speeds. Looks-wise, fantastic. Driving experience, way better than I thought. Interior, wonderful, and there's some good color schemes. There's like a brown leathery looking one that you can get. I'm sure it's faux leather because it's an EV and faux green. So I think, love the styling, love the driving, needs more range, should charge faster. It needs to be on an 800 volts. It really needs to be on the Audi Volkswagen PPE, their platform electric, because that's a great system. I don't know if you can get that on the Volkswagen side of the family, but they need to find a way to rename it and let them use it, because you underpin that, and then we're doing 300 miles of range. We're doing more powerful and more efficient motors and all that good stuff. But the infotainment, hot mess. As long as you pair your phone and use CarPlay, that helps a bit, but you still have to touch things to change climate control, and you have to dig through menus to get to other things. It's just so hilariously badly designed It's wild. I mean, it feels like something like Fisker would have done in the ocean, not Volkswagen, one of the largest automakers in the world, even though they've been trying to go down that road for a while. So, like I said in the beginning and the end, there is tons to like, but you are making concessions to own the vehicle. I hope they sort them out. I hope people buy these so it sticks around for a mid-cycle refresh or even a second generation, because it's just fun to see this out on the road. It makes people smile. It gets thumbs up. It is a great vehicle. I really want to see a camping version, but if you want to go camping, you better have a 300-mile range version, like I said. Hate the price, understand the price. Hate the price, hate the infotainment, love the looks, really enjoy the driving experience, and the interior is fantastic, minus where you have to put your hands. So, very cool van, cooler than your average minivan for sure, but you have to be the right sort of buyer that knows what they're getting into and live in an area where a vehicle like this makes sense. And if you meet those requirements, you're winding up with something pretty cool.